cannot be a universal model for barter, because that would strip it from its social context, and it would just be an imaginary abstraction with no correspondence in reality. So I think it's very important to recognize that when you go into an exchange where ideally you get to reassess value, that actually when you step into this space of mutual negotiation, there's all kinds of privilege and oppression and understandings about what's going on that might make it entirely impossible to communicate or to have some kind of transformation around what is valuable. So, you know, the story of an exchange of an island for kettles and trinkets is a very violent story that we tell ourselves, and there's a lot of treaties written showing that someone signed for an island, but the understanding was impossible because there was no concept of private property. So it's like me walking into Central Park and being like, I have this, you know, treaty, will you give me Central Park? And you're like, sure. It was just completely impossible as an exchange. So again, this woman, Caroline Woolard, she's been studying this group in northeast Nepal. And what's interesting to me, this was in the 80s, but what she found is that groups would barter with each other. So all kinds of things are traded: garlic, pig's bristles, potatoes, poison, herbs, antidotes. I think it's good to not only romanticize barter as something that happens like far away and with people who have no money, but is actually like all around us in our practices and even on a corporate level. So also in the US we have ITEX, which you can join, and you pay the broker. So you don't, it's not necessarily, it's actually rarely two people talking about what something's worth. Instead, you pay a barter broker and they make the match for you. And they sort of negotiate on your behalf. Currencies, which are just local money, local currency, are called a barter system. Like in Greece, there is actually a currency that's a local currency, and it's used to, you know, if you have more than one person in a barter network, it's easier if you have a medium of exchange. A lot of people who write about community currency or local currency, and often what they say is that economies should be like ecologies. They need to be resilient. They need like redundancy and many efforts. So you can't just have one currency like the euro, or else there could be a giant shock to the system and it'll collapse. If you have many ways for flows to happen between communities, it's resilient, like an ecology should be.
But the reputation of barter was interesting. So barter is perceived by who to be a primitive?
It happens when you're like in a desperate moment and you have to like give away your family heirloom in exchange for bread. Barter is what we did before money, it's regression. So it's not resilience and it's not self-reliance, it's regression. I got into this whole obsession is because I organize a barter network. It's called OurGoods. It's ourgoods.org. And people post what they have and what they need, and everything you need is based on a project. So you give us the reason that you want it, rather than just, I want to consume this. Hopefully people care about your projects and they want to help you. So there's different people on it, everything from like Occupied Tech Ops man, Tom Gillis, to this woman who is a life coach, and just propose barters to people, and then talk about what feels fair, and you leave feedback at the end, but there's no point system or number rating, it's just colors. If you ever feel desperate, you can barter with me for this poetry, so you can print on top of this. This is how people counterfeit money, but I'm not going to go that far. It's just a ghost of a veil.